So I work for Mace as head of BIM International. And also involved in other initiatives that you can see here. So I'm part of the UK BIM Alliance, and I also work on standardization. And I also been lucky to work on a book that will be published next year. So several authors also are presenting today at this event. So it's about Industry 4.0 for the built environment. So I really recommend to check it. So as I say, I work for Mace. Mace is an international consultancy and construction company. And we work at the international level. And our purpose is really to define the boundaries of ambitions. And what does it mean? So we have 4 different engines. So we build, we consult, we operate, and we develop. And we have 3 different business priorities. So to pursue a sustainable world, to deliver distinctive value, and to grow together. So really about the value is also something that we will speak about during my presentation. So with Mace in the previous years, we have been really thinking how we can do things in a different way, how we can help our communities to deliver the best in the places that we live, we work, and we spend our time. So one of the topics that we have been thinking about and recently together with industry and academic partners is how we can be able to monitor the projects on real time. So we really complain about our sector that we find errors too late, so when it is really costly to make changes. So the vision is really about how we can have real-time information to make informed choices. So the first things really to reach this vision is really to have structured information. So, and it was, I've been working at a European level in order to create a framework to better define the information that we need at the right time for different purposes. So I think that most of you are familiar with the LOD topic. How many of you are familiar with LOD? You know the level of definition, so yeah, so most of you. So for some of you that are not familiar with that, usually with drawings we have the concept of scales. Okay, so from 1 to 100, 1 to 50, and so on. That is telling us how much information we need to include in our drawings. When we started to speak about BIM and models, instead we have this concept of level of definition, a level of detail, that is telling us how much information we need to include in our models from a graphical point of view and also from a numerical point of view. So you can see here LOD 100, so it means that it is a placeholder. So even if we have a lot of graphical information, we cannot really rely that that will be the final product that we're going to have in our project. But when we will progress in our project, we see that we can rely more on the information. But of course, this has a limitation. So most of you say that you are familiar with this topic, and if I ask you which is the LOD of this door, can you immediately answer? So you can realize that there is not an immediate answer. One of the reasons is because based on the different countries that we work, there are different conventions, but also that sometimes is open to interpretation. So what I've been thinking is that we do really clever things during the design and the construction. We use parametric design, but the way that we define our need is based on a number. It's really not digital. You know, how we can improve this, okay? And the other thing is that for different purposes, we need different information. I think that we all agree about that. So if you need to do cost analysis, we need a particular type of geometry and alphanumerical information, different properties. If you need to do thermal analysis, we need others. You know, if you need to do accessibility analysis and so on. I think that most of you, or hopefully not, but some of you had the experience that you spend a lot of time to create complex models during design. And then when we move to construction, they need to start again. Completely all the work lost. You know, all our clever stuff, completely, you know, waste of money and time. Why? It's because information was not created for the purpose of the construction site. So that is simple, because based on different needs, we need to create different data set, okay? So that seems really simple, but how to deal with that? Which is the solution? So really, we needed to start to define our information in a better way, so that can inform the creation of the information, and then the delivery of the information, and then the verification and the validation. So that is really important because at the moment we really focus on the digital aspect, on the information authoring and the information delivery. And also we're getting better of checking our information in a digital way. But how we can link, how we define our need, and then how we deliver that. So this standard has been published last year, is EN 17412 Part 1 at European level with a group of European experts. And you can see here there are two main parts. So instead of using a number, so LOD 300, 400, here there is a framework. So it's the level of information need framework. So you can see that there are some prerequisites, so you need to define why you need the information, okay? Do you need to do cost analysis, scheduling analysis, health and safety, analysis and so on. When you need the information, because at different point of time, we might need different information even if it's the same purpose. And then who is requiring information, who needs to provide the information, but also who is checking the information. And last is the object. It's not just the element, okay, but it can be the entire building, because at the beginning of the project, probably we don't know all the elements that we're going to produce, but we define our information at building level or infrastructure level, okay? And for some discipline, maybe our requirements are at system level. Think about the MEP. So most of the time, then define the information at system level. So really, the object is to define your information at different level of the breakdown structure that is relevant for your work. And then we have the level of information need divided in geometrical information, alphanumerical information, and documentation. Even if everything is about information, still is separate the geographical, let's say, and geometrical information from the different, let's say, properties that we include. And you can see that there are different aspects. So we have the detail, so how much complex we create, let's say, the geometry. Then the dimensionality, do we want our information as a point, as a line, as a surface, or in 3D? Because still we have this mix. It depends also on the type of purpose that we want to achieve. The location, do we want to have the geolocation, or is it something that is relative, so that we want a particular object in a particular space, for example. We don't care about the specific geolocation. And then we have also the how it look like. So we saw before the previous presentation, so if you want to do visual, it's so important to understand, do we want a realistic or maybe a symbolic? Think about for cold and hot water, then you don't use a realistic color, for example, of your pipes. And then so the parametric behavior, so how the geometry can be change after it's been created. And alphanumerical information is really the list of the different parameters, and the documentation is the list of the documents. You can see here an example. I don't know how much you can see there, but really if you, in the preliminary design, if you want to do a visual analysis, then probably the architect can provide the site, the wall, the window, and other object. And for each of them, you can define actually, do you need the geometry, first of all? Yes or no, and which are the alphanumerical information that you need, and so on. So this can be done in different way, and this has been defined in the ISO 19650 series. So there is a guide that has been co-authored with Emma Hooper as part of the UK BIM Alliance, a UK BIM framework. And also there is the actual standard on the level of information need that is available for everyone if you want to go in more detail. You can define your information in a structured way. Of course, you can write in a piece of paper, but it's not really intelligent. So it's better to use a sort of database to do that. So you can see an example in our table. So you can see the different purposes, the different objects that are related to different properties, and using different classification to standardize your approach. There are other software, this is Planarly, for example, that you can define also the geometrical in more detail, and which are the different attributes that you want to attach, or being queue, for example. So it's also important as I said, to do this link between information need, information authoring, information delivery, and then checking the information. So then you can set your requirements, import in your authoring tool, it can be in ArchiCAD, Revit, and then be able to create rules in order to check that what you were asking is actually implemented in your tools, using, for example, SimpleBeam or Solibri or other tools for the checking. Is that enough? You know, is that enough having structured information? Of course, it's something that in the industry we don't have, but can we do even better? So I want to share something about myself. So it was 2018. I was going for holidays, and most of us, when we check for hotels, we look, you know, places, and we check different, you know, where other people have been going and what they think. You know, you check the price, the different services, and so on. So I check this place where to spend my holiday. What happened is that at night a terrible earthquake happened. Okay, so 500 people died. I'm alive by a really, you know, it was really a miracle that I'm here, because my structure was safe, but around me everything fell down. And in that moment, really, you say, why I studied building engineer? You know, want to be a doctor to save people. You know, why, you know, so I did a PhD, I know a lot of things, but I don't know how to help people. When is the need? But then you realize how much our work in the building environment is so important, because we can, of course, create structures that are safe. That is something that, of course, we need to do. But also we can provide the right information to the people. You know, when you select a place, your house, the school for your kids, do you have the possibility to know if that place is safe? No. Is it possible to check if today this structure is safe? Or a road where you're going, if they did maintenance, or if not, to check another route. At the moment, we don't have this availability of the data. Most of the time, because we don't ask, we don't collect, we don't check. So really, it's important what we are doing in our sector. So this, of course, is not just happening where I was on holiday, because I know that I think, you know, Marzia, you took us in a place that maybe not everyone wants to go. Of course, this thing unfortunately happened also here and in other places. So really, our work on the digital and how we ask information and how we monitor is so important. Really, we can make have an impact and really deliver the value for our clients and for our society. That is what Mace is really about. I want now to share this work that Mace is doing together with other industry partners, as I will mention. So there are some initial fundings regarding the production control room. And this is a project that started last year and is an Innovate UK funded project for 2 years, over 2 million at the moment it has been funding. And you can see Mace is leading that project together with other academic and industry partners. So the principal aims of this work is to expand the concept of information requirements for the control room and in general for having information on site and how we can better control projects when we are building those, and also create a plug-and-play capability so that for the information, when we exchange information, so trying to be software independent, as we will see in a second. And also another key important topic is trying to collect information and to reuse to be able to compare different projects. So to be able to also to predict different action and to be better. So, but of course there is a challenge that we needed to face. I think that all of us, we are experiencing that data is not good, as I mentioned before. We would like to have structured information, you know, that is, you know, the level of information need framework that we have really clear needs and done in a standardized way. But the reality is that data sit in different databases. Most of the time it's difficult to find those information. They are in different formats. They use a different syntax. So I think that we did this work also Mace for the Construction Innovation Hub. And part of the funding regarding UK clients, public clients, is that there are 104 different ways to call the space toilet. Can you imagine? So we see toilet lose, sometimes it's capital, sometimes. So how we can really be able to compare data in an easy way to then do different kind of intelligent stuff. So the work that the team has been developed here is to use ontologies in order to be able to compare the data from the different data sets. As you know, different projects, they are dealing with different topics, even if most of the, let's say, area are the same that we cover. For example, health and safety, you know, people management, all the scheduling, the risk, and so on. So really the challenge here is that how we can compare those information and to having this standardized data layer, so then we can have dashboards in order to visualize what is relevant. Because you can imagine that the clients probably, they care if we are on time and on budget, but then people that are on site, instead they need to have a better insight regarding what is going on, okay? So this you can see in the physical production control room on a particular site where different professionals can you know, work together in order to filter the information that are relevant that particular day for the particular you know, work package, for example. And so, of course, you can filter information based on a particular you know, level, and also you can check that what is happening is on time, is as planned or not, and which are the issues, and then collect those data in order to create your benchmarks for future projects. So this is the team that is leading this effort. Some of them are also here, so we are happy to share even more if you're interested on that. So really, I'm really happy that there is this collaboration between industry and different universities, so really to solve a complex project that we are facing and to provide a solution to the industry. So in order to you know, do some conclusion to this presentation. So first of all, I think that all of us, we agree that it's important the information management and how not just we produce a lot of information, but to create relevant information in order to have the right information at the right time. This framework on the level of information need is already available for all of you to have a look. There are also technologies that help you to link the requirements within the implementation in different tools. And the work that Mace is leading on the project control room really will help the industry in order to make informed choices and then to create a benchmark for our sector. I want to just finish with this, go back to the initial vision. I don't know if you know the average age of the team that took the first man to the moon. Do you know the average age on the NASA? So I discovered recently, anyone that knows? No? So I did discover recently by speaking with Martin Fisher. So the average age was 27 years old. It's amazing, isn't it? So, and I feel old. So that is usually, you know, they say that I'm young. So I want just to underline this because really we don't need to underestimate the skills and really the impact that young people can have really to make incredible things. So if you're young, really, you know, contribute and keep working in the industry because really we need your talent. If you're more in a senior position, really work with younger people, we know some people in the industry, really to create amazing things because really we have all the potential there. So thank you very much for your attention, and yeah, we are happy to share more about this project. Thank you.
Oh.
Thank you, Marzia.
I think I've got a couple of questions for you. So obviously data structures and having data properly organized is essential to you to have this flow through of information to the construction site. I mean, but the information doesn't necessarily flow from design to construction smoothly, as you've said. So what do you do when you're getting information in from other sources for a project? Do you pre-qualify it before you put it into your system? What kind of process does Mace have for proofing? You don't want to put crap into your database, essentially. So what do you do to make sure that you do that? Don't do that.
Yeah, of course, is a great question, because all of us say, ideally that is how that should happen, but in reality we know that is really messy. So one of the slides that I show you here on the work that has been doing by the colleagues on Imperial College is really, let me, it's a little bit. So here you can see that it's really complicated. So it's not that this data is completely structured. Actually, most of the time is unstructured. So we work and implement it using with ontologies and semantic web in order to be able to extract the relevant data and to compare that. But of course, also the verification and validation before entering on the, let's say, standardized layer is also important. So as I mentioned, to be able to check that the information is relevant is something that we need, to do better. So not just creating information, but to have this quality assurance process. But we know that the reality is not there all the time. So we use a different technology in order to help us in order to compare those information that at the moment are stored in different databases, they are unstructured, and so on.
But who gets to enforce the standards in your projects? Who's the enforcer?
It's a good question. So as part of our work, we help, first of all, clients to be better. So to have more intelligent clients that they require what is needed in a structured way. But then is a responsibility of all of us, for example, in the design team or in the construction site, to then set requirements where they're not being defined previously, or if there is something missing, because maybe the client is creating high-level requirements, for example, to use structured data, but then is not going in the detail that we need then to operate on site. So, for example, if there is an intelligent client that is setting requirements, we are lucky. And unfortunately, we see more and more. So in Mace, we work with major clients, both in public and private sector. And those clients, working with them, really understand the power of spending more time before on structuring data to then enable to do intelligent analysis later on. But then if this is not happening, then it's something that we propose our standards to the supply chain. Yeah, but it is a journey,
Yeah. And it's cooperation as well.
Yeah, exactly. When you invite me, say, this is not a final solution. I think that all of us, we need to work together in order to have this done. Yeah.
I think I can fit in one more question. Have anyone got anything? Yes. Any more questions? Yes.
Based on how scaling this control room would happen,
yep.
Is it use case or asset class that would be best to focus on?
Is it best to focus on user case or asset class, considering how large this can get?
So, asset?
To scale the control room, is it best to focus on assets,
okay,
or use case? Asset class or use case?
Yeah. Yeah. So I think that is really scalable, because the technology is there. Is also about which kind of problems you want to solve. So if you want to, having information about asset also depends on your role. Because if you are in a more senior position that you need to have a control regarding a wider scale, then this allows you. But also we are able then to filter and then to use this kind of approach also to manage as components or spaces or different work package. So that is really flexible. So I think that the problem is not really the technology, but is more like the culture and getting people used to rely on the data and then to have data that you can then trust and to work with. Yeah, but I think that the scale is not really a problem regarding the possibilities.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much.